Well, hello, everyone. 9 o'clock straight up on a Tuesday morning. I'm Jane Monreal. Appreciate you watching here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Wow, we have had international, national, and local news like you wouldn't believe. So we're going to get to it one thing at a time. We also have a conversation coming up with MCSO Gary McFadden. We are expecting his arrival here to the Live Impact studio in this 9 o'clock hour. And for now, though, let's start on the world stage, where President Trump says they are closer than ever to reaching a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. Alice Barr from NBC News in Washington has the latest.
Renewed hopes this morning for an end to Russia's war in Ukraine after a second day of U.S.-Ukraine talks in Berlin.
I think we're closer now than we have been ever, and we'll see what we can do.
In a major concession, Ukraine now says it's willing to give up a long-sought push for NATO membership, though President Volodymyr Zelensky says that's only if the U.S. and European allies grant his country NATO-like security guarantees to guard against future Russian attacks.
Мій сигнал щодо гарантій безпеки.
Zelensky is so far resisting another major Russian demand to give up territory. Russian President Vladimir Putin wants Ukrainian forces forces to withdraw from parts of eastern Ukraine they still control as a key condition for peace. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner working with Ukrainian and European officials to find compromise.
We're making progress. It's more difficult than anybody could have thought.
We're thankful for
Ukrainian negotiators under pressure to accept a U.S. brokered peace deal that initially backed Moscow's demands now say they're making real progress toward an agreement that could finally bring peace. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Here around the Charlotte metro, of course, you might have heard about a major house explosion that started as a house fire in Salisbury. This is what it looked like last night. Breaking news that we covered here on Live Impact News, bringing it to you there. You can see the damage to this home. The yellow tape is out, and the cause of this fire turned into an explosion, unconfirmed now at this time. So originally, authorities and fire investigators saying that it may have been a gas line explosion. They have since retracted that, but we do know that 12 firefighters did have to seek some medical treatment hurt in last night's Salisbury explosion. And as you can imagine, a lot of people are concerned there. Our Destiny Richards covering the story this morning. She filed this report on our earlier WCNC stream at 8 o'clock. If you missed it, we're going to play this for you here on Live Impact News.
Yeah, it's still definitely a scene where a house is a total loss after a house fire turned explosion yesterday. This is what we're looking at with the sun fully up. Much like last night, still caution tape around the debris that's left behind. Same vehicle behind the caution tape as well. And thankfully, all 12 of the firefighters injured are expected to be okay. Most of them already at home recovering. And investigators are still searching for answers. Now, firefighters were called here just before 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon for a heavy fire. While crews were inside working to put it out, the house suddenly exploded, causing the roof to collapse and debris to fly. Authorities say 11 Salisbury firefighters and 1 firefighter from East Spencer were injured, along with 2 people who were inside the home. The Salisbury fire chief says the firefighters suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Now, we spoke with the homeowner last night. He says his brother and sister were the 2 in the house when the fire started, and his sister was taken to the hospital.
They got out safely. Pray to God they got out safely. It's a lot of prayers up for me. It's a long journey back for us. A fire, we just can't get it back. I can't get the house as long as I got my family. That's good.
We also learned that unfortunately 2 family dogs died in this fire and explosion. Now, it was initially released that it was a gas line explosion, but that information was retracted. Now the cause of the fire is under investigation, and we can confirm that about an hour ago, the building inspector was here, so that investigation is definitely resuming this morning, and we'll be sure to give you the latest information once it's made available. I'll send it back to you guys live here from Salisbury.
And we'll take it here on the Live Impact Studio. Sheriff Gary McFadden has walked into the studio. We'll talk to him right after the break. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:08. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. And this morning, Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden returns today for a continuation of our conversation about immigration in Mecklenburg County. Since we last spoke, the suspect in the most recent Katz light rail stabbing, Oscar Salazarno, we've learned that he was deported twice before by ICE. The sheriff here now. And Sheriff, thanks again for coming in.
You're welcome. Welcome.
So let's talk about what happened on the light rail. We know that Oscar Salazarno was deported twice by ICE. How did this happen?
So when we said they were deported twice by ICE, that is correct. So what ICE does is deport these individuals under the criminal law or criminal aspect. They are not criminally charged. So simply putting a person on a bus, transporting them back to their country, and dropping them off. The key thing that we need to understand is that most of the time these individuals have state pending charges. Whatever state they're in, they have state pending charges, and ICE take them out of state custody and deport them. This is a great example. So when they deport them both times, it shows that the current deportation is not working. And so this is why it's important for us to all come to the table and try to work out a better solution for immigration. Now, when this person came back the second time, ICE could have charged him with re-entry after deportation, which is a criminal charge. Then that would put him into the criminal aspect in the court system instead of the civil aspect. Now, because of this third re-entry or stabbing, now ICE will probably have now charged him with re-entry after deportation, which is a correct charge that he should be charged with.
Okay, so what are we missing then in the system that it should have been done correctly?
Well, there's no judicial oversight. It's basically ICE is picking these people up on civil charges. That means that they have no judicial oversight. Nobody has signed a warrant. It's just a person is being identified, lack for a better word, being profiled, taken into custody or detention, and then deported back to their country. All of this is causing taxpayers money. Now, what is going to happen in the future is a lot of these people who are being deported with state pending charges will go back to their country and return. If ICE has not communicated with the state law enforcement agency and the judicial system, these individuals could come back with order for their arrest pending. So meaning they would have an outstanding warrant for their arrest because they did not go through the judicial process in court, which means they will be back into the system and the taxpayers of each state will be paying for them for the housing and the delay of them not going to court on the order for their arrest.
All right, so we've seen now 2 stabbings in 4 months in the Charlotte area, again putting our public transit safety system in the spotlight with bigger issues, the big one being ICE and immigration enforcement versus, Customs Border Patrol. Talk to me, how do the agencies differ in your eyes, how you approach each agency and what your communication is with ICE versus Border Patrol?
Well, there is zero communication with Border Patrol. From day one, never have talked to Border Patrol. We had a issue with communication with ICE for probably 6 years. October 1st, I sent a letter to ICE. October 17th, we've had a in-person meeting, face-to-face. I gave them a memorandum of how they could operate within the guidelines of our protocols at the courthouse and the detention center. So far, that has worked with us. So ICE gives us what they call a heads up if they're coming to the courthouse or they're going to be at the detention center, and that is working much better than it has in the past. But I must point out this, which people get this mixed up. We are not assisting ICE with enforcement. We are not assisting them with law enforcement or enforcement priorities in our cities. So we're not doing enforcement. We're just having better communication.
Okay, but Border Patrol, no, and now there's talks of potentially that they could come back. Like they have said that Charlotte's Web is not over.
Well, when they come back, and if they come back, I'm going to still ask for communication, cooperation, and collaboration. I can tell you that Charlotte will be different. Law enforcement will be approached differently than before, and we will ask for cooperation and communication, hopefully prior to their arrival, because we're going to question what they're doing. A lot of damage was left in Charlotte, a lot of unanswered questions, and nobody to this day know who has been picked up out of the 100 or some people that they potentially claim that had criminal histories. We do not know that. We can only go on what they are saying, but with no verification and clarification. We're going to ask for that if they return, and as of now, we're going to ask that before they return.
So do you know if they have plans to return?
I believe they will return. The president has an agenda, and he has to make sure that his agenda is being followed. So I believe that we will see them again. And make no mistake about it, we're going to be targeted because we are a Democratic agency or a Democratic sheriff's office under the guidelines of a Democratic governor. So if you look at it, look at how this is being attacked. They are targeting Democratic-run cities. In North Carolina, they are going to target black Democratic sheriffs in each county. Mecklenburg, Durham, Raleigh, and Wake.
Okay, so you've talked to other sheriffs in the state, other law enforcement across the country, and is this a common theme? What are you discussing?
It is absolutely a common theme. No cooperation from Border Patrol. No communication from Border Patrol. When I had a conversation with Chicago, Minneapolis, New Orleans, and some other cities, everybody says the same thing. Zero cooperation. They come into our cities, bring terror, horror, and fear with no cooperation. But they can go on national news and make all the statements that they like about what they're doing and how they're making the city safe. No city that they have been in thus far is any safer. It has caused chaos and fear throughout the United States.
What are there any solutions that you guys that agencies across the country are coming up with as a collaborative?
Well, the solution is communication. The solution is cooperation, and that's what we're going to keep saying. Communication and cooperation. So we're asking for them, but we can't force another agency, a law enforcement agency, to talk to us or even work with us. We can only ask, and a professional ask and a professional courtesy should be granted to the local sheriffs and the local chiefs. Just professional courtesy. That is what we are asking for, and the bottom line is being respected as law enforcement officers. If this does not happen, I can tell you there are going to be clashes against the badges. What I mean, there could be law enforcement clashes, and I hate to say this, there could be an incident where someone is hurt because these people are not identifying themselves as law enforcement officers. Only from their outer garments, but we see no badges, we do not see their faces because they're covered. We're simply asking for cooperation and communication.
Okay, so the conversations that you're having these days with other law enforcement, what is actually being said? Because they were in Chicago and California before they came here, and then they went to New Orleans and Minneapolis. So is it just sort of connecting that communication line?
It is connecting the communication lines between law enforcement agencies and looking at what they did in your city so we can call that next city and say, this is what you should expect. Now, some cities are creating ordinance. You know, they can't park their vehicles in garages, and there's going to be some resistance in coming cities, I can tell you, because if you do not work with us, then why should we work for you and give you just free roaming in our cities? So talking to other cities, they will be creating ordinances to deter them from parking their vehicles and assembly. That may not go over well, and it may not hold any weight, but may be put on the table to be talked about.
What do you say to our state leaders and other sheriffs across the state that, you need to talk to us? And have they talked to you? Have they talked to you since?
They have not talked to me since. My door is open. My phone line is up and running. We're just asking for it. When you call them, it goes to DEFCON 0, nothing. When you send an email, it goes to nothing. And so this is the problem that we're having, making the phone calls, but ICE has come to the table and talked to us. I want to make sure that clear, because I said, if you come and talk to us, I'll give you credit. Lawmakers, absolutely not. They will continue to place this agenda in the media about making our city safe. We can look at the past videos. Nothing about these operations is bringing safety to our city. If this is true, what we're asking for, if you want the worst first out of our cities and helping make our cities safe, we can help you. We have outstanding warrants for violent criminals that have allegedly committed crimes that we could serve. If they come to the city and say, let's target your gangs, let's target your violent criminals, but not the lady who is driving down the street with her children and dragging people out of their businesses and homes. So what we are saying is, if you want to make our cities safe, let's be working towards this together. Cooperation. We have outstanding warrants for violent criminals that you could target.
How about the residents themselves, right, in Mecklenburg County? The feeling is still of concern or fear or being profiled or targeted. What do you want to put out there, public messaging for our residents?
Well, we understand the difference between being scared and fear. Scared, for me, is only for a moment. You may be scared to get out of your car because you saw something, but when you see it not to be fearful of, you move on. Fear is a continuation. We want our residents in Mecklenburg County to know this, that the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office is here for you, documented, undocumented, citizen, non-citizen, because we still have to serve you if you are a crime victim. We want you to report the crimes. We want you to be good witnesses. We want you to tell us where these things are happening. But what the rhetoric is what the other side is trying to do is make these citizens believe that certain communities want violent criminals in their cities. I can tell you that talking to the residents and the citizens of the community, nobody wants violent criminals in their cities. So what we want to do is still connect the gap with law enforcement, sheriff's office, and our communities, and let's have these conversations and allow us to bridge the gap that has been torn up by Border Patrol and others.
When we talk about accountability and moving forward, someone, again, like Oscar Salazarno, the light rail stabbing suspect, when that has happened and he's been deported twice, comes back, who do you hold accountable? Who should be held accountable?
Well, the Department of DHS, Homeland Security, should be held accountable. This is what they done. This is when they deported him twice, they allowed him to leave the United States without being adjudicated for the current charges that he was charged with. They deported him. This is a failure in the system. Now, they probably will try to correct it now by criminally charging him, but that's a failure in their system. So simply coming together with law enforcement, having these conversations, allowing us in law enforcement to show you some of these gaps would be helpful. Talking to lawmakers who just make these bills and Senate bills and House bills without having a conversation with actual law enforcement officers. Yes, in North Carolina, they have a great relationship with Mr. Eddie Caldwell, who's the executive director of the North Carolina Sheriff Association, but they need to have better cooperation, communication, collaboration with the local sheriffs who have these problems inside their counties and cities. That's what we're asking for.
And when you say that, this becomes a problem because then the detention centers get filled up when the deportation shouldn't, or not the deportation, but someone like a Salazarno, a suspect, shouldn't have been here the second time. Does that really impact the jail system?
Absolutely. Here's why. House Bill 318 was created by the lawmakers in Raleigh that require local sheriffs now to hold undocumented immigrants for an additional 48 hours. That is on the cost of every local taxpayer in your county. For Mecklenburg County, that's $398 per state, $198 a day. So what I have been told recently that Alamance County, which was a strong supporter of 287G and ICE, has now not cooperating with them of housing undocumented immigrants because they are not willing to pay the cost. So now Alamance County decided to say, well, we're not going to hold these people inside our detention centers either. So now we are seeing that not only that the Democratic sheriffs are being targeted, now the Republican sheriff may be targeted or brought to the forefront of immigration. So imagine that we're not having these conversations. We're just going on each day, plowing the fields without any resources, and this is not going to be good for our community and communities across the country.
If this system is broken, how do you operate within its constraints right now?
Well, you operate under the law, and this is why, I am targeted most of the time. I'm simply operating under the law. You will never hear a lawmaker or anyone say this: Sheriff McFadden is not following the law. They're going to have what I classify as word salad. They said he's not cooperating to what you believe I need to do, but I am just simply following the law. When we're talking about detainers and all of that, sure, House Bill 318 has taken care of that problem, to include North Carolina General Statute 162.62 that mandates each and every sheriff in North Carolina, no matter if you're Democratic, Republican, black or white, to cooperate with ICE. So we are mandated to cooperate with ICE, and this is what we're doing. So you will never hear a lawmaker make this statement: Sheriff McFadden is not following the law.
Do you think this can be fixed?
At this point, no, because we are not invited to the table, and I'm saying we, sheriffs across America. Sure, they may talk to an executive director, sure, they may talk to someone else, but they are not bringing each and every sheriff to the table in our respective communities to have these conversations. Because they are not doing that, this will never be fixed. They will continue to make the public believe that it's working, which I said, the word salad, yes, this is going to make your city safer. We have the worst first. And like I said, if this is the worst first, I hate to see the second wave of people who they're going to arrest. If these people that we have seen are the worst, mothers, fathers, citizens are being dragged from their car, businesses, if that's their worst first, where does the gang members fall in? Where does the true violent criminals fall in to this? If this is what we're seeing as the worst first. Can it be fixed? It could be fixed. It could be a better immigration system if they allowed other voices to be heard and have a seat at the table.
I feel like it's kind of hopeless.
At this point, it is hopeless because we see you go from city to city with no clarification, no communication, and transparency. Let's use that word, with no transparency. If you are arresting people who are violent, let us see it. The people that you arrested in Charlotte, give us that list. Let us see if they are being arrested. Now, when we say, well, they have criminal backgrounds, well, driving while impaired is a criminal offense because you are arrested for it. Yes. Show me the murderers. Show me the rapists that you're arresting. Sure, they may get one or two here and highlight that one gang member out of 300. Let's talk about an entire gang. Let's talk about an entire criminal enterprise. Then we can talk about it. Let's see the guns that you have confiscated during these arrests. Let's see the drugs that you were confiscated during these arrests. Let's see the fentanyl that you have seized. Then we can say, yes, it's working. Yes, that's clarity. Yes, that's transparency. But we have not seen that. We continue to hear media overload of how great this is, and simply doing that has given the community a false sense of what really is happening.
All right, Sheriff Gary McFadden, well, thank you for talking to media in this way.
Always.
Frank conversation with you and appreciate it, because I think that's what a lot of our residents and even, just people across the country are lacking sort of this sense of what is it like there on the ground and out in the field, and what are the real challenges out there.
That's great. And everybody has an opinion, and so we're not talking about opinions, we're talking about facts. When I give you this is not my opinion, this is fact. Now, my opinion is that we should have better communication. But that should be a fact also.
All right. Gary McFadden, thank you again, and hope to see you very soon.
Very soon. Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, the sheriff just clearing from the Live Impact studio. Thanks for joining us here just after 9:30. That conversation, if you missed it, will be on our YouTube page as well as our website, WCNC.com. Talked a lot about immigration enforcement and a nice candid conversation with Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden. All right, want to get back to the local situation, the Salisbury home explosion that happened last night. Our Walker Lawson was there, Destiny Richards there this morning, covering the latest as the investigation continues into what caused this massive explosion that was felt not only by neighbors but firefighters as they were dealing with the house fire. The homeowner spoke to our crew last night. This is what he had to say. I believe this interview is somewhat in the raw, so you're going to hear all of the little nuances of taping an interview. This is Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Walk me through what happened this afternoon.
I really wasn't here when it started. They called me and told me, and I rushed down the highway.
Who was here? Did you have family here at the time?
Yeah, my brother and sister was here.
How are they doing?
Well, my sister's in the hospital, but I think she's doing all right. I'm going to see it.
Do you know what was happening here at the home during the time of the fire?
I really don't know. I need for all details out when I get to the hospital and talk to them.
How long have you lived here for? Talk to me about the home, what it means to you.
48 years. It's our memories. My mom and dad bought the house and came and all moved down here as a family from New Jersey.
What does it mean for you today when you see this?
It's sad. I mean, it's memories gone. I mean, my mom and dad left memories here for us. Now it's gone. It's up in smoke. But I mean, I got faith in God. I got faith in God. He'll look out for me.
any idea what caused the explosion?
I really don't even know. I really don't know what's going on right now. I'm saying details. I mean, I don't know.
Were they in the home or out of the home? Or?
They was in the house when the fire. They got out safely. I pray to God they got out safely.
When you heard the news that there were 11 firefighters injured, your loved ones are injured, what's going through your head?
My prayers go out to them. Because, I mean, they risk their life to do their jobs. And my prayers go out to them.
How is everyone in your family feeling right now that you've been able to talk to? I mean,
I really
how
haven't.
shaken
I
up are
talked to
you?
my brother, but I mean, everybody's, how to explain it to you? Everybody's just worried, stressed out right now.
And I heard that the Red Cross has been assisting you guys
Yeah, they
and
have
everything.
assisted me. I appreciate
Just
that.
the community support that you've heard from already, how has that been so far?
It's been real good. And it really looked out for me. I ask for everybody, just pray for me, pray for my family. It's a long journey going back.
What's your plan tonight? What do the next couple weeks look like for you?
Right now, it's give me somewhere to stay. It's cold out here right now. Making a hotel room, me and the family, we all sit together and just show our love to each other. But for a family, you wouldn't have anything.
How many people lived at the house?
It's like 8 of us.
So
It was a family house. A family house. Yeah, family house.
So that's 8 people that's, so close to the holidays.
Yeah, that's the bad part about it. I mean, sad, close to Christmas, but
Was this kind of like the gathering place for your family? Like, were you planning on hosting Christmas here?
yeah, we was. We planning to have Christmas here, but I guess we're not gonna have it here. We're still gonna have Christmas. We're not gonna be here, but it'll be somewhere.
How grateful are you that your loved ones are okay tonight?
I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful because it could have been the other way around. We got 2 loved dogs that died in the 2 dogs that we really loved the most. They died. They in there now. So broke our heart, broke my heart. You know what I'm saying?
We've got a check of weather coming up after the break. We'll be right back. All right, 9:38 is the time. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Here he is, the man of the hour.
Hello.
Chris Mulcahy, bringing it to us again with this gorgeous cold weather.
Yeah, so you know what? The sunshine makes things better. Yesterday was a pretty looking day, but we only got to 38 degrees. But I want to start off with a random stat. We only have 16 days left of December. We only have 16 days left of 2025. And if the year were to end today, we officially would be the 11th warmest of all time. So the 11th warmest year in Charlotte history at 62.7 degrees. The warmest of all time, 2024. We did it last year. That hit the #1 spot. But the one that really stands out for me is the 12th driest. We've only had 34.61 inches of rain. That is substantially less by over 7 inches. And we are going to add some more rain by the back end of the forecast. So likely we're going to be tumbling down a little bit closer to about the 20th driest, but still one of the driest where we haven't really hit this criteria since the time I've been here in Charlotte the last 7 years. So right now we are at 33 degrees, but 24 hours ago, just a day ago, we were at 22 degrees. We dropped down to 16 degrees yesterday. That was the coldest day of 2025, where we've been so far. But for 9:39, we are just above that freezing point. And current temperatures elsewhere, we just warmed up to 32 degrees around Albemarle, freezing exactly for Statesville, Salisbury, upper 20s across the I-40 corridor from Hickory over to Morganton. But you can see in the background that beautiful blue sky is what makes things so much better. So yesterday at 38, today at 53. That's a 15-degree upgrade. Very similar looking day. Winds also on the lighter side, and it's just all about the upgrade as far as temperatures go. We're substantially warmer in parts of the mountains especially, and hour by hour, as you can see, we are going to have a slight wind chill, 51 feeling like 49 come 4 p.m., and then 45 feeling like 43, 43 like 41, so about a 2-degree difference for most of those wind chills. That means they're barely blowing, likely only up to about 7 miles per hour, which is great. Also, what's great is look at our high, 53 today. Look at the low on Friday, 54. That's the morning low. So that does kind of come with an asterisk. Likely if you are going to look at Friday for that day's climatology. So what would that be? The 19th? Is that the 19th on that? Yeah, the 19th of December. When that's all said and done, I think the low for that day is going to be hit right before you hit midnight going on to Saturday. So 54 is what we start off the morning with, which is substantial. But the overall low, I think it's going to be colder. And then we drop down to freezing on Saturday. But then outside of that, we're above freezing. That's amazing. So staying above freezing, that is going to allow for really the mid to the upper 30s to the lower 40s overall. That is a well above average trend that usually it's this time of year that we're averaging the lower to the mid 30s and the lower to the mid 50s. So it's nice that we are seeing those temperatures really soar, making up for lost time compared to what we started off the month with. So tomorrow we are seeing one major change, and that is the lack of sunshine compared to what we have today and what we had yesterday. I have a high of 61. That's great. Winds out of the southwest are definitely helping do that. And then you have the upper 50s to the north. Winds pick up slightly, but all in all, I think it's going to be a partly sunny to a mostly cloudy day overall. And that's going to be the precursor for our next chance for rain. This is also another big change compared to what we had yesterday. I was looking at a chance for rain in the afternoon, and then rain was going to be likely during the evening and the overnight. I still think rain is likely during the evening and the overnight. I just think that there's a better chance for rain to start to drift in during the morning time. So the time that you need the umbrella, I think we can check 3 boxes for Thursday, all 3, the morning, the afternoon, the evening. But then by Friday, I think once the sun rises up, we're rain-free. We're good to go. Could be some wraparound snow in the back edge. But here's what it looks like. Starting around 5 o'clock on Wednesday. At that point, we're either under a partly sunny to a mostly cloudy sky to end the day. And then by your Thursday morning, we're seeing signs of rain. Now, the one thing that's going to change here is this band of rain is either going to shift further east, which means less for Charlotte, or shifts further west, which means more rain for the I-40 or I-77 corridor. So that's keeping on and off light to moderate rain, even some pulses of some heavier rain, on and off through the morning, heading in the afternoon. We had a little bit of a break before we see more rain start to fill in the gaps, and then a better chance for that last-ditch effort of this rain that you see right here to start to fade out by your Friday morning, and then you can see that back edge. Have you ever seen just pretty much a flat line of clouds that's dividing cloudy skies to a blue sky? Yeah, so if you've seen that, we actually saw it recently. My director, Rusty, took a picture of it. That's the frontal boundary. So that's showing the big difference from more of a moist or warmer air to a colder, drier air. So sometimes it can be a really definitive line, and that's that's exactly what I think we're going to see on Friday, that you go from more of a cloudy sky and then all of a sudden sunshine's taking over. Since a lot of us are going to be traveling, any other rain chances we have going towards the Christmas holiday, very minimal. We have a small little 20% guy for late Monday heading into Tuesday, and that doesn't really look to be significant. I'll open up our travel circle to show you a better example. So this is a 300-mile radius. I use this around the holidays to help people travel. This brings us through Thursday, and at that point, this is all the rain that we're potentially seeing. That's why I think some are going to see over an inch of rain. This is also going to be a big, bad low-pressure system that's going to really pick up the winds, especially to the north, around Michigan, Ohio, up into New England, and then the backside, that could also have some snow for them. The only snow that I think we see is maybe the North Carolina mountains on Friday morning. Eventually gets out of here, and then we have some clouds mixing through. Next chance for rain, barely anything, looks to be Monday night to Tuesday. Tuesday afternoon, I think, is the best chance of rain before Christmas, and then outside of that, we are trending dry. Well, right now, the trend is warmer. Yesterday, I had a high of 60. Now it's up to 65 for Christmas Day. Now, this is playing with fire because anything outside of 7 days, so much can happen, but with temperatures, you can see kind of the general range. So it looks like we are trending at least the lower to the mid-60s for both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Slight chance, I have less than a 10% chance for rain, but likely spending a dry Christmas Day. And getting there, we also have temperatures that are mainly above average. I always have the average right below. It says 7-day forecast. 55 is the average for this day in climatology. 35 is the low. Well, besides today, each and every day is either at the average or slightly above. Only exception is also a low of 30 degrees on Saturday. But what I love is Sunday. There's a lot of sports icons that we have on here, and I threw the snowman in there because Sunday officially is the start of winter, astronomical winter, where that starts officially at 10:03 a.m. is the winter solstice, and coincidentally, the first day of winter is the warmest day that I have going forward, and will be, at least up to that point, December 21st, the warmest day we've seen so far this December, because we've only hit 60 degrees once. We're going to do it again tomorrow. We'll do it once more on Sunday, and then we'll try to do it another couple of times right around the Christmas holiday.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Don't
well,
need it.
We're fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fine with it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, a lot of people are like, oh, no, I want White Christmas. Is like, well, then move to Minnesota.
There's other places
you
you could
go
go for that ain't here.
Yeah, it is so rare. Majestic's Weather IQ tomorrow is actually purely on that, but plain and simple, there's only been 4 times we've had a measurable snowfall, which is the actual definition for White Christmas here in Charlotte.
Oh.
And that dates back to 1878.
Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness.
so it's been a minute.
So,
Long time.
to quote one of my favorite movies, the odds are not in your favor.
Not at all.
Forever in your favor.
Not at all. I just came back from Florida. It was getting cold there at night. Like,
Not iguana cold.
not iguana cold.
Yeah.
But like 60s
Oh, yeah.
at night.
I thoroughly.
I was cold.
I went to school at Florida State, so it'd be really funny because the Panhandle actually gets chillier. We can drop down to
Yes.
freezing, but it'd be funny. I took a poll one time. There was a certain group of kids that wouldn't show up when it gets super cold. All of them were from Southern Florida. They were the Pensacola, Miami, Dade County kids. They're like, no, I'm not going when it's that cold. So
Yeah. No, I'll have my Christmas ornaments and lights on a palm tree. No problem. I'm fine with it.
Me too. You can be
Fine with
festive
it.
whatever the weather. I
That's
think
right.
There was a certain beer commercial that used to say that. Used to light up their palm tree.
Love it. All right. Thank you, Chris.
Of course.
And we will be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, the parades start today. So at 9 o'clock here on WCNC Plus, only on WCNC Plus, can you see special parades happening around the Piedmont? The first is tonight. It is the Belmont Christmas Parade, followed by tomorrow's Concord Christmas Parade. On the 19th, Fort Mill will be featured. Mooresville hitting you up, guys, at on the 22nd, and then Rock Hill back to South Carolina on December 23rd. NORAD, who's not following Santa Tracker?
Love the Santa Tracker.
Love the Santa Tracker. So that starts Christmas Eve. Kids are going to be up, but you know what? Santa wants you to go to bed, so they can so Santa can deliver those presents. Yeah, he needs to work worry free. And Union County Christmas Parade on Christmas Day. So we'll be bringing you that list and all of the parades you want to watch here. So many around the Carolinas. We love it here on WCNC Plus at 9 o'clock. All right, back to serious news. The Salisbury home explosion that resulted from a fire. The official cause is still unknown, but the fire department did speak last night. This is their chief and staff talking about the latest of what they know as of last night. We'll play this for you now in its entirety on WCNC Plus.
You talked to your guys at the hospital on the scene.
Yes, yes.
So how did they describe it to you? Did they say, hey, Chief, can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I'll quantify it like this. They all said we were doing and I listened on the radio, they were doing exactly what firefighters do, exactly what our protocols are for a structural fire of that nature. They were on the roof cutting holes, they were dragging hose lines from the front to the back to extinguish the fire, and they were searching for the occupants, because if anybody was left in that smoke-filled house, they wanted to get them out. And just all of a sudden, an explosion occurred. No notice, no warning. It just happened, and that's what they're telling us happened.
How many of your guys, and I don't know if the Spencer guy, were they actually all in the house, the 11, or was it some people got hurt on the outside? Yeah, you're going to have to let us it's early. Critique and review all that. Some were in and around, and the walls blew out, so it's a brick facade. They blew out, so anybody that was around the house got hit by the facade bricks and wood and that kind of thing. So, and I'm assuming somebody was living at this house?
Yeah. They were living in the house and in the house when the fire first started. So, yes.
Every scene can be dangerous, but how common is a risk of an explosion like this to happen while fighting a fire in a home?
Yeah, I won't be able to quantify that. It doesn't happen often, but we know it's a possibility. That's the right. You watch firefighters open up or break windows or open up or cut the roof. That's to let the pressure out, let the smoke out, let the heat out, and that's what they had done. And that's an effort to prevent smoke explosion or another type of explosion. So this happened. They had done that. They were in the process of that, and so I can't quantify how often, but it's known to happen before.
11 firefighters were injured today. How large is the department overall? How many folks?
So on duty, we had 22 members on duty, so half the shift.
Was there any damage to any surrounding homes?
Yeah, a nearby house did sustain a little bit of fire and heat damage. Yes.
What did you tell your guys when you got to the hospital? What did you say to them?
They really spoke with me first and said, man, I'm good. I'm ready to get back on the fire truck. Can I go back tonight? Right? Mr. Green, the city manager's here. He was also there when I got there. Some city council members were there checking on their members. As I mentioned, our chaplains were there. And most of them just wanted to, one, check on how everybody else was doing. They care about others and their co-workers. They cared about the civilians. They wanted to know how the civilians were. And they said, I'm ready to get back on the truck tonight. And we had to tell them, no, you do what the doctor says do. Just like a firefighter, I would expect any firefighter to do.
Just for clarification, the two civilians that you mentioned that were transported to the hospital, were they inside of the house at the time of the fire?
I just can't quantify that or confirm or deny any of that at this point. But thank you for asking.
Chief, any chance, is that the mayor right there?
This is the city manager.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that might have been the mayor.
The mayor has been in contact with us, has very high concern, has reached out many times, as has many of the council members, but the mayor's not here, nor council members here right now.
How much was the fire contained before the explosion happened?
So we have a radio announcement on the radio when they get water on the fire. That tells us that one of the hose lines, we had 3 hose lines in operation. One of them was getting the fire knocked down. The radio broadcast also told the outside commander told the inside crew, it looks good, you're starting to get a knock. Typical terminology for us, and that's when the explosion happened.
And so was the fire under control at that time?
No, it was not declared under control. It was still a working fire incident.
Chief, I know it's early stages of the investigation. We expect this to go throughout the night, and are any of the other residents surrounding areas going to be affected?
So nobody else, that house was displaced, the occupants of that house. The others are not displaced. I won't be able to tell you how long this investigation may go. It could be days or weeks, actually. Salisbury Police Department, Fire Marshal's Office, and the State Fire Marshal's Office and Salisbury Fire Marshals are investigating. They started an investigation on the scene immediately.
When you get that kind of call that so many of your guys are injured, what's going through your head?
Thanks for your asking. What is really the concern for those firefighters and their families. And we immediately go into mode of checking all of them, checking with them face to face. Myself and my staff, we were there checking on them, asking how they were doing, and that's what goes through our mind, checking on our folks and making sure they're okay. Thank you.
Obviously, nothing can be routine all the time. Like, how do you kind of prepare your guys for unexpected situations like this? Obviously, you can't prepare for everything, but how do you kind of prep them as best as you can?
Yeah, thank you. So the preparation is extensive. Our training programs are extensive. I mentioned that we went into Mayday mode, Mayday protocol. That is taught to every rookie school and practiced biannually, to every on-duty in-service fire company. So that the mode is second nature in regards to going into Mayday and checking on everybody, rescuing those that needed rescue, and doing a PAR check, a personal accountability report, so we account for everybody, and that was done very quickly. The incident commander did a great job of orchestrating the radio traffic and the protocol.
Do you have a message to the Salisbury community tonight?
Yeah, I do. I think it's important to know that anybody's house, firefighters are going to go get them, right? We are there to go get them. We have a search mentality, a search culture. And so if there's a fire, if there's a danger, we're going to go get them, even sometimes at some risk. And that's what tonight proved, right? That your firefighters in Salisbury are heroic in my eyes, and they proved it tonight. And so that's the message is, anywhere in Salisbury at any time, these firefighters, male and female, these guys are ready and trained to go do what they do. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. That'll conclude unless there's just one more question. Okay.
The hospitals you mentioned again, what were the 2 hospitals?
Yeah, Rowan Regional Medical Center and Atrium Northeast in Concord.
So not Novant. Novant was not one of those.
I'm sorry, Rowan Regional Medical Center is a Novant facility. Okay, so Novant, yes, right down here. Okay. Yes, and then Atrium down in Concord. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And we expect an update from Salisbury Fire Department today, and we will bring the latest as much as we know to you on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus and on air WCNC Charlotte. I want to remind you that starting tonight at 9 o'clock here on WCNC Plus, we're going to be featuring the parades around the Piedmont, kicking things off with Belmont. That is tonight, and then ending on Christmas Day with Union County. So content you can find only here as you support your communities in and around the Carolinas and the Charlotte Metro on WCNC Plus. And we'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 10 a.m., you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. Appreciate you parking it here for your day and putting it on your streaming device and telling your friends and family and office workers to put it here on WCNC Plus, because we bring you latest live feeds, whether it's local, state, national, international. We are waiting for a couple of national press conferences or hearings. One is about aviation and the state of American aviation, and the other is a GOP leadership press conference. They are set for 10 o'clock today, so 10 a.m., so any minute. In the meantime, we did find one live feed that is happening out of Palm Beach, Florida. Looks like a lot of law enforcement officials there. Let's go ahead and listen in and see what they are going to be showing here on Live Impact News.
Proud of the work that has been done to lead to this takedown, a takedown of this magnitude. This operation demonstrates our firm commitment to reclaiming neighborhoods, because this is a neighborhood. It's not just roads and buildings. In it, there are people, parents, children, friends, and neighbors who feel the impact of crime in their community every day. And it ends here. Through sustained, coordinated enforcement, more than 100 individuals were arrested in massive quantities of fentanyl and other drugs, enough to deliver, as was stated, tens of thousands of potentially lethal doses were taken off the streets. Let there be no doubt that there is a zero tolerance for this criminal activity in our community. We will act decisively. We will hold offenders accountable and continue doing everything necessary to protect our residents and our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the takeaway from this, if you haven't been paying attention, is when you have an operation like this, two good things happen. One, you save people's lives. Two, you clean up the community. It's a lot safer. And when you get these thugs out of the neighborhood, and people, they are thugs. That's what they are. And when you get them out of the neighborhood, people feel much better, neighborhoods thrive better, the community thrives better, right? Take a few questions.
Sheriff, sir, are all these drug dealers, there were users, these are all dealers that we're seeing, mugshots of dealers?
Yeah, come on.
Yes, the main dealers you'll see on the first poster there, and the rest of them between mostly dealers and or cooperating in drug trafficking.
All right, we are leaving Palm Beach right now and take you up to Boston, where the mayor is hosting a press conference addressing the swearing-in ceremonies that were canceled recently because of, for individuals rather, from 19 countries deemed, quote, high risk by the federal administration. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News.
To learn the language, to study up on all of the facts that at that time you had to know, to be tested, and then to go in for all of the interviews and the checkpoints. And it meant the entire world when they were able to raise their right hands and swear an oath to this country that they loved so much that they gave up everything they knew, everyone they grew up with, to sacrifice and have just a chance that the next generation would live a better life because of the ideals and the values of the United States of America. So in Boston, we hold to those values. We will continue to fight wherever we can to stand true to who we know we are as a country and who we know we are as a city. But there are likely more battles and more steps that will need to be taken, and we stand with our partner organizations who have been doing so much to make sure that people have the resources that they need. One of the partnerships that the city every year is very proud to undertake is with Project Citizenship is our Citizenship Day, where we have volunteer lawyers and people there ready to help anyone who's interested in the process fill out those forms, get started, have direct expertise and guidance. And there was record turnout at this last April's Citizenship Day event, record volunteering from our legal community as well. And several of the people who had gone through that process with Project Citizenship at that moment were actually the ones who were just about to take their oaths when this happened as well. So we are going to continue to fight and try to exhaust every means to bring redress to this situation, but also to make sure that we're doing all that we can just to keep moving forward. I'll pass it over to Gail.
Thank you, Mayor Wu, and thank you for your support and the support of your entire team as we deal with this indignity. I can't think of any other word to describe at this place at Faneuil Hall, people literally being asked, well, what country are you from, as they stood in line and being told, oh, well, your ceremony is canceled for today based on their country of birth, their country of origin. So we've had 21 of our clients whose oath ceremonies have been canceled.
All right, I mentioned minutes ago that some of our country leaders are meeting, and one of them right now is the House Transportation Aviation holding a safety hearing. They are talking about DCA and potentially some different routes there with, if you recall, the military chopper and an American airline Charlotte-based flight collided, killing hundreds of people. And so anyway, this is the state of American aviation right now with the FAA at Washington, D.C. Let's listen in.
The support from this subcommittee. Administrator Bedford, I believe that you are the man for the job. This task is unprecedented, but you have two documents that ought to serve as a roadmap. The first is a bipartisan FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024 that contain numerous provisions directing the administration to phase out legacy systems in use across the NAS and operationalize key programs developed under the Next Gen initiative. The second is the administration's Air Traffic Control Modernization Plan, for which Congress appropriated $12.5 billion to carry out radar replacement and a total update of the FAA's telecommunications infrastructure. Administrator Bedford, this subcommittee will be conducting oversight, as we should, of the $12.5 billion to ensure that we avoid the absolute disaster that was NextGen. The stakes are too high. We simply cannot afford to get this wrong. We got to get it right. We owe it to the American people and to every single American Airlines 5342 family. We owe it to you. With that, Administrator Bedford, thank you for being here today. I look forward to hearing from you on the state of American aviation. I now recognize Ranking Member Carson for an opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Nels. Thank you, Chairman Graves and Ranking Member Larson. It is a tremendous honor to be here for our first FAA oversight hearing this year, in which we actually get to hear from the FAA itself. It is also a pleasure to welcome our witness, also a Hoosier, Administrator Bedford, for his first visit to the subcommittee. Also would like to recommend, in the spirit of the chairman, the families of those who have perished in the DCA mid-air collision who are joining us today. We recognize how difficult it is for you to be here in the face of such an unimaginable loss, and we want to express our heartfelt appreciation for you and the strength and conviction of your advocacy to help make sure other families don't experience such a devastating loss. For the subcommittee, safety, of course, is our top priority. This is why we worked so hard to pass the bipartisan 2024 FAA reauthorization. We collaborated across party lines to strengthen and expand the aviation workforce, to make our national airspace safer, and to modernize our navigation and air traffic control systems to maximize safety and efficiency. Even prior to this administration, the FAA had a mandate from Congress to implement our 2024 FAA reauthorization law by investing resources and concentrated work into aviation safety, airport infrastructure, the aviation workforce, sustainability, and consumer protections. We passed the laws, directed the FAA and the Department of Justice to implement these laws, all of them, not just the ones people like. As for recent events in recognition of aviation safety importance, I was proud to work with my colleagues on this committee to introduce the Bipartisan Aviation Funding Solvency Act in response to the longest government shutdown in history. If passed, it would pay FAA staff and keep operations running safely during the government shutdowns. Mr. Administrator, I hope you will support our efforts to pass this bill as soon as possible. This is vitally important because the current continuing resolution expires next month, and we and our aviation workforce should not have to endure further stressors on the national airspace systems, NAS, that decrease and increase flight interruptions. Today is the first hearing with an FAA witness that we've held this year. Mr. Administrator, you've written a few oversight letters, but we haven't received much of the information that we've requested, sir. So we have a long list of issues we'd like to get updates on. The FAA's ongoing response to numerous crashes this year, including the tragic mid-air collision at DCA and the UPS crash in Louisville. The rationale used to restrict and reduce flights at the 40th largest airports in the country during the recent shutdown, including our very own, the Indianapolis International Airport, which was rated the best in North America for 12 years straight. The alarming loss of technical expertise at FAA due to various administrative actions, including the mass firings and forced buyouts that have hollowed out the agency's ranks. The need for more transparency about the FAA's contracts with clear conflicts of interest, workplace safety issues for flight crews, and finally, the implementation of secondary cockpit barriers mandate to protect the flight deck. There are other issues and provisions, but I hope that after today's first visit to our committee, you won't be a stranger, sir. Thank you, Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. I now recognize our leader, the chairman of the full committee, Mr. Graves, for an opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Nels, and thank you, Administrator, for being here. It's always good to see you. So it's been an eventful year in aviation, and it started with tragedy, and our thoughts remain with the loved ones of those in the DCA mid-air collision that occurred January 29th last year. This year, the state of our nation's air traffic control system has been thrust into the spotlight, but it's not a new debate. Our ATC system is outdated and unsustainable, and it has to be modernized for the benefit of safety of all users of the national airspace system. And I'm pleased that Congress passed and President Trump signed the budget reconciliation bill into law, enacting a historic investment in our nation's aviation infrastructure totaling $12.5 billion for air traffic control modernization. This funding allowed the Federal Aviation Administration to immediately get to work to replace critical telecommunications, infrastructure, and radar systems, invest in runway safety and airport surveillance projects, and replace antiquated air traffic control facilities. I look forward to continuing the work with Administrator Bedford and Secretary Duffy and President Trump as we move forward on ATC modernization. And furthermore, I'm proud that this committee worked in a very bipartisan fashion to pass FAA reauthorization in 2024. This bipartisan law addressed workforce challenges, increased funding for airports across the country, and made improvements to the passenger experience, and included the very first ever general aviation title. And I'm pleased that the FAA finalized the modernization of the Special Airworthiness Certificate rule, which expanded the freedom to fly for every American. And this is something that I pushed hard for and required the FAA to do in last year's FAA reauthorization. For air traffic controllers, the FAA has exceeded the goals set by Congress, hiring 2,026 new controllers in 2025. And the FAA has planned to hire 8,900 controllers by 2008. And I remain committed to ensuring that the FAA and the Department of Transportation work towards full implementation of the law and carry out what Congress intended. And with that, Chairman Nels, thank you, and I look forward to hearing the Administrator's testimony. With that, I yield back.
The Chairman yields. I now recognize Ranking Member of the full committee, Mr. Larson.
Thank you, Chair Nels, and thanks for calling today's hearing on the state of American aviation. And Administrator Bedford, thanks for joining us today. We've got plenty to discuss, and I look forward to your testimony. Chair Nels, I just want to give you a heads up. I might be pushing the 5-minute limit on this one, so just I won't. Thank you for your grace, sir. Next month we'll mark.
All right, we will get back to Washington after a 2-minute break. We'll be right back. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Want to remind you that if you want to watch a parade around the Charlotte Metro, you got to stick to WCNC Plus after 9. Starting tonight, the Belmont Christmas Parade, kicking off our parades around the Piedmont content. We're pretty much going to have a parade for you anywhere between Concord down through Fort Mill, back up to Mooresville, South Carolina, and Rock Hill. And then we got to cover NORAD because Santa's bringing presents to all the kids.
I love the Santa Tractor.
All the good kids, though.
Because every time I watch it, you know, it's a nice,
so fun.
like, geography refresher.
Yes, that's good.
You know?
Yeah.
You're like little countries here, and they're
go.
like, oh, I forgot
That's
about
right.
that. Oh, yeah.
That's right. There is Belarus.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And but you know what? End things back home in
Yeah.
Union County. All right. So Christmas Day, from now until Christmas Day, your shopping and your parades and your news, all right here.
It's right here.
On WCNC Plus. Isn't that great? Your source. So park it on your streaming device, and that way you can get all the breaking news, all the live feeds, all the local news we've got. We will get it to you. We have, shall we go to the House GOP leadership? Sure. Oh, yeah, let's do that. It looks like they have the press conference that is just getting underway out of D.C. Let's listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
American lives. And finally, the horrific anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Australia that killed 15 innocent people at a Hanukkah celebration. Our hearts are heavy as we grieve the evil that was put on display this past weekend, and we continue to pray for the full recovery of those injured and for the comfort of the families whose lives are now forever changed. Now, turning our attention to the House Republican agenda. This year, Republicans delivered one of the most consequential pieces of legislation in our lifetime. The Working Families Tax Cut Act, passed by the House Republicans and signed into law by President Trump, achieved historic America First victories, such as no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax relief for seniors, an increased child tax credit, and Trump savings accounts for newborn children. 2026 is gearing up to be the year of deeper pocketbooks and lower costs for the American people. Thanks to this landmark legislation, tax refunds could increase by $1,000 per taxpayer next year. That's more money in your pocket for you to invest, save, and grow. Waitresses, law enforcement officers, and parents will have more of their hard-earned dollars to put food on the table and to support their families. Not only did our bill deliver the largest tax cut for middle-class Americans, it also addressed rampant waste, fraud, and abuse in programs like Medicaid and SNAP. As we have all witnessed with the fraud scandals coming out of our state of Minnesota, these programs have long been ripe for fraud. But House Republicans and Donald Trump implemented common-sense reforms to strengthen the system to benefit the people who need it the most, not fraudsters who sent millions to terrorists abroad. Which brings me to addressing the failure of my governor, Tim Walz. We anxiously await Tim Walz's response to House Oversight Committee Chairman Jamie Comer regarding what he knew about the $1 billion in fraud. Walz has had 7 years to address and stop the fraud. It wasn't until President Trump made this a national issue that Walz started to pretend that he cares about his constituents' tax dollars supporting a terrorist group in Somalia. Accountability is coming, Governor. Our dishonest, failed governor must and will answer for his complete incompetence. With that, I'll turn it over to our leader, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Webb. My prayers go out to all those killed in so many different horrible tragedies. I mean, here in America, Brown University, you look at our two Army soldiers that were killed, the anti-Semitic attacks on the other side of the globe. Just remind you, during this Christmas season, this Hanukkah season, it's a special time. It's a time we celebrate, but it's also a time where evil still lurks here and all around the globe. And we just pray for those who have been murdered, harmed, injured. We pray for those who have evil in their hearts, that God can touch them and hopefully remove that evil so that they don't go harm innocent people. This week here in the House, as we finish our work for the year, we're taking up some very important bills. And start with the SPEED Act. We've heard complaints from members all across the country that know that just trying to build things in America, road projects, bridges, pipelines to move energy, anything you're trying to do, more and more laws are getting in the way. NEPA is a heavily abused law that delays a lot of the projects that ought to be built. Bruce Westerman and his committee have done incredible work to bring a bipartisan bill that starts to address the abuses here in NEPA so that we can actually build things in America again. You know, you think about the cost savings that would come if it only takes 2 years instead of 10 years to build a major project. And we all know what's happening all across America, why so many projects are shelved in many cases or take so long to be built. Because of the abuses of some of these laws, like NEPA, Endangered Species Act, the Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act. All of these laws are being heavily abused. So this is a really important first step, getting the SPEED Act passed to get real, meaningful permitting reform. And then, of course, Dr. Miller-Meeks talked about her bill, which is such an important step to lower costs in health care for all Americans, 100% of Americans. While Democrats only care about bailing out insurance companies and focusing on less than 10% of Americans that are in the Unaffordable Care Act, we're focused on lowering premiums for all Americans. And that's what you're going to see on the floor this week. You know, you think about association health plans, which have been proven to give people more options to lower costs. The Choice Act, which, you know, while everybody complains, they say, why when I watch TV commercials, I see this gecko lizard and I see the emu and I see all these other animals out there selling health, they're selling car insurance, they're selling homeowners insurance. Why aren't they selling health insurance? Well, that's because the laws at the federal level prohibit the ability for people to have choices to get people trying to offer them lower cost products for health insurance. Imagine if, for example, with Choice Act, where you can run through a health savings account, the ability where if you get your health insurance through your employer, if you're able to go find a better plan, if somebody could compete for your business and offer you a lower deductible plan with lower co-payments for your families, right now you can't go buy that product. Well, we create those options with the bill that we're bringing to the floor tomorrow, the PBM reform that Dr. Miller Meeks talked about, where you can actually have lower prescription drug costs, again, for 100% of Americans. This is something that our three committees of jurisdiction have been working on for a long time. And yet, while Democrats only want to bail out insurance companies while premiums go up, we're focused on having lower premium options, lower cost options for 100% of Americans. So another busy week where we're going to be focusing on helping families that are struggling under the weight of all the damage that President Biden did. President Trump is working to lower costs. President Trump wants to see these bills on his desk. And we're going to work to deliver here in the House. And if I don't see you between now and then, I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
I rarely get to raise the podium, but I'm going to take the opportunity this morning. Thank you, ladies. Good morning, everybody. Thank you to Dr. Miller Meeks for joining us on what is our last leadership press conference of the year. And I just want to say to all of you, press corps, thanks for being here each week and covering all of this. It's been a hugely historic week and year in so many ways, and a hugely consequential Congress, and you've had a lot to cover. So we do, as everybody has said, wish you Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, and hope you get some well-deserved rest over the short holiday. Since Congress reopened following the end of the Democrat shutdown, the longest in American history, Republicans have passed, since we came back, 41 pieces of legislation, and of course, as you've heard this morning, we're set to pass even more. Chief among them is the Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act. It is aptly and appropriately named because that's exactly what it's going to do, as everybody has explained this morning. If you recall, Democrats shut the government down and kept it closed for 43 days so that Chuck Schumer could get political cover from the grassroots of his party. Remember that he had voted for the same CR just several months earlier in March. When the same vehicle came forward, he suddenly changed his tune, and that is because he caught a lot of political backlash for it. So he decided instead to shut the government down and fight. Well, everybody saw how obvious and how dangerous that gambit was. And so the Democrats tried to spin their selfish political decision to claim the whole thing was always about, quote, fighting for health care affordability. But that claim never made any sense because it ignores the very simple facts of the situation. It is the Democrats' Unaffordable Care Act that broke America's health care system, as has been recounted this morning. And it's the Democrats who have refused every good faith Republican effort to fix it along the way. Now, this is 15 years into this saga that the American people have been drugged through because the Democrats decided 15 years ago to break the system. They insisted when they passed the Unaffordable Care Act that it would reduce premiums, it would provide more choice and higher quality and all of that. And none of that ever happened. In fact, quite the opposite effect is what we have seen. All this was foreseeable, and that's why Republicans didn't support it. Premiums have skyrocketed, the quality of care has plummeted, and so many places and in so many cases around the country, and fraud is absolutely rampant in the system, and it is costing everyone dearly. Yes, there is a healthcare affordability problem in America. It's a very serious problem for almost every family. But it is an indisputable fact that the Democrats caused that problem, and Republicans are the ones having to clean it up. For 15 long years, Americans have now faced skyrocketing premiums, fewer quality choices, inefficient care, and widespread fraud, waste, and abuse. Benchmark premiums on the Obamacare marketplace for every plan, listen to this, they've increased 80% overall since 2014, and they're continuing to rise. The Unaffordable Care Act marketplace has resulted in lower quality plan offerings and less consumer choices to date. Fraud is absolutely rampant. Paragon Health is one of the analyst groups, and they estimate there's over 6.4 million people who are improperly enrolled in the Obamacare exchanges. And a recent GAO study, the Government Accountability Office, found some staggering facts. It proved what we all know intuitively about the fraud that's involved in this program. They found that Obamacare's subsidy system lacks even the most basic guardrails to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. And I think that study is something that you should all dig into. It should be on the front page of every newspaper because it is shocking and alarming. Over the last 2 years, for example, the investigators at the GAO, Government Accountability Office, they did a little experiment. They in 24 different cases, they applied for Obamacare subsidies. They did it fraudulently by intent. So 24 applications with no Social Security data attached, none of the information that's necessary to actually apply, no citizenship proof attached, and none of the income documents and all the things that are supposed to be applied and included in an application. Now, guess what? Out of the 24, 23 of them were approved. And they've been paid tens of thousands of dollars, some of them as recently as September of this year, the GAO tracking all of this fraud, wondering, hoping if anybody will ever pay any attention to it and stop it. That's not the only thing they found. The report also found that in 2023, 29,000 Social Security numbers were used by multiple persons. In 2024, 68,000 Social Security numbers used by multiple people to bilk the system, to defraud the system, and to take dollars to themselves. You had, in one case, there was over 120 individuals using the same Social Security number to get these benefits, and it was never stopped. The GAO also found that more than $94 million last year alone was sent to insurers on behalf of people who were already deceased. It's a serious, serious problem in the system. It's why the costs are so high, and this is the system that Democrats in Congress want to extend without any reform. We just can't have that. The Washington Post summarized all this best in one simple sentence. They said, quote, "The real problem is that the Affordable Care Act was never actually affordable." That's the problem. America's healthcare system should be the envy of the world. Instead, it's the most expensive in the world, and the American people are not getting any healthier because of all this madness. A new Gallup poll released yesterday found that 70% of Americans have a negative outlook on our healthcare system for all the obvious reasons. All Americans deserve a healthcare system that puts patients first, one that meets their needs with more access, more choice, and more affordable quality care. And House Republicans have offered legislation to begin fixing what is broken and to restore.
And that was House Speaker, GOP leader there, Mike Johnson, speaking at a press conference for the House GOP leadership. We'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Back here now at 10:35 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We get you back out to the House GOP leadership. House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking at a press conference this morning on Live Impact News.
And I'll remind you, CSR payments are not a new idea. In fact, in 2017, the thing that we're going to put on the floor tomorrow, a big part of that, 196 House Democrats, many of them still in Congress, wrote a letter in support of that very idea. Exactly what the Republican bill this week will accomplish. Now, they won't tell you that this week. I'm certain they're all going to vote against it. Why? As was said here many times this morning, they do not want a solution. Democrats do not want a solution. They want an issue in the upcoming election. And they think that the media will go along with this and that people will buy it. That, oh, their heroic effort to extend this COVID-era subsidy that they themselves created and that they themselves put the expiration date on at the end of this year, they're going to try to convince you that that's all health care wrapped into that. Remember, it only affects 7% of Americans, and it would only reduce their costs by less than 6%. Democrats also had a chance to support our provision in the Working Families Tax Cut in the big, beautiful bill. But House Democrats voted against it, and the Senate Democrats stripped it out. That cost-sharing reduction reduced everybody's premiums by almost 12%, and the Democrats fought to take it out. This is something that we're going to do this week. The Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act is going to accomplish exactly what the title says. If it becomes law, premiums will decrease, access will increase, and every American will have more options and flexibility to choose the coverage that works best for them. It's called the free market, and we're the ones that advance those ideas. More options and lower costs. That's what the American people demand and deserve, and it is only the Republican Party that is presenting any ideas to do that. The Democrats want to keep subsidizing a broken system. We're fighting for that, and we will. I'll just close with this. 2025, as I said, was a marquee year, a landmark year. I want to remind you all there's something noticeably absent from our end-of-year duties here. Normally, or at least in the past before I became Speaker, we would all be here with so much angst and drama and everything about the dreaded end-of-year Christmas omnibus spending package. You have not been able to write about that for now the third year because we broke the fever. We both broke the Christmas omnibus fever, and we're getting back to stewardship and regular order, and we're very proud of that. The third consecutive year, we've avoided that terrible congressional Christmas tradition, and we're getting everything working here again. Fixing the appropriations process has been a goal for me and this leadership team. It's been a goal for Chairman Cole at Appropriations and his leadership team, and we're well on the way to rebuilding that muscle memory. House Republicans have shown up every day and delivered real results for the American people, and we're going to continue to do so. We are excited about the years ahead. We look back now on what we've done all this year. We obviously passed the Working Families Tax Cut, the big, beautiful bill, the most significant piece of legislation that Congress has considered in my lifetime. Stephen Miller's had a quote that summarized it pretty well. He said, quote, "Each and every one of the individual titles in that bill will be considered one of the greatest achievements in the history of the conservative movement." They are conservative policies, but they benefit every American, and everyone will be seeing and feeling the effects of that in the first and second quarter of next year when all that becomes implemented. Here's, by way of reminder, real quick, the legislation included the largest tax cut in American history, permanent extension of the reduced estate tax, Medicaid program reforms, expansion of SNAP work requirements, increased border enforcement and funding, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, increased standard deduction for seniors, tax-free savings accounts for every child born in America, business tax provisions to incentivize investment and innovation and broaden the pathway out of poverty for more people. Wages will be increasing and costs will be going down. Many of these landmark provisions are set for implementation in the first, second quarter, as I said, and all boats will begin to rise. Just last week, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent predicted $100 to $150 billion in new tax refunds, between $1,000 and $2,000 per household. And most of the estimates say that the average American household will have their take-home pay increase by at least $10,000. These are real, tangible benefits that this bill is going to offer to tens of millions of American families, and we're excited about what's ahead. It's just one more example of the many positive and transformational outcomes that we're going to see going into the next year. So far, House Republicans have passed 413 bills this year. We've codified 68 of President Trump's America First executive orders. We've repealed 23 Biden-era maddening regulations under the Congressional Review Act resolutions. We clawed back billions in wasteful spending through rescissions and opened numerous investigations into President Biden's failed administration, and we look forward to continuing all of that work when we return in 2026 and we go into an epic midterm election cycle. With that, I'll take a few questions. I'm going to go to Bill Malugin. What you doing on the front row, man? Glad to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ahead of Jack Smith's deposition tomorrow, there's a new report out this morning that DOJ is getting ready to hand over Congress a batch of emails, specifically to the House Judiciary Committee. And in those emails, they allege, it says that the FBI warned the Biden DOJ that there wasn't probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago. Are you aware of this? Are you expecting to get these emails later today? What's your response?
I've heard as much as you just reported there, and I have not had an opportunity to review any of that yet. But it would verify and I think affirm much of what we understood from the very beginning. As y'all know, I used to serve on the House Judiciary Committee before I was made Speaker in October of '23, and we spent a lot of time uncovering just the complete and total weaponization of the Department of Justice under the Biden administration. They used it to go after political enemies, and chief among them was, of course, Donald J. Trump. And they abused the system, and to me, the great harm of it all was that they really eroded the people's faith in our system of justice itself. I mean, that's the most dangerous thing. If people don't believe that our justice system is actually equal justice under the law, that Lady Justice is actually still wearing the blindfold, that everybody gets the same treatment under the law, it's a really serious challenge for a constitutional republic. And so this is some shocking revelations to a lot of people. It's not to us. We knew, we understood that this was happening the whole time. The evidence, I think, and I expect will verify all of that. And there's going to have to be appropriate accountability. I mean, accountability is key here. It's important because if you're going to restore the people's faith in the justice system, you have to show them that there are serious consequences for people like Jack Smith who abuses that system. We have to ensure it doesn't happen again, and we'll see how all that unfolds, but it's going to be a very, very interesting, important development. Yes, ma'am, second row. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. This morning, Congressman Mike Lawler said that it was political malpractice to not allow a vote on the ACA subsidy extension this week. What's your reaction to that, and will Republicans suffer any political blowback for not allowing something like that to come to the moderates?
Well, Mike Lawler is a very dear friend and close colleague of mine. And ironically, weekend before last, I was in New York in his district on Long Island, and we were campaigning together, ensuring that he gets reelected. Mike Lawler fights hard for New York, as every Republican in this conference does for their districts. The districts are different. They have different priorities and ideas, but we do have, there's about a dozen members in the conference that are in these swing districts who are fighting hard to make sure that they reduce costs for all of their constituents. And many of them did want to vote on this Obamacare, COVID-era subsidy the Democrats created. We looked for a way to try to allow for that pressure release valve, and it just was not to be. We worked on it all the way through the weekend, in fact, and in the end, there was not an agreement wasn't made. Now, everybody was at the table in good faith, and I certainly appreciate the views and the opinions of every member of this conference. But I will tell you one thing they will all join in unity on is voting for this bill that we've been discussing this morning, because, again, instead of just trying to assist 7% of Americans, this is for 100% of Americans, and we can handle that and do that together. I hope that Democrats will come along with us. If they're serious about solving the problem and bringing down cost of health care, they'll all fully support it as well. But I think you're going to see they're playing politics with this. Back row, yes, ma'am.
Last week, President Trump said that his legislative agenda is essentially done. So why should voters vote for Republicans in the midterms if there's nothing left to do legislatively?
Well, I don't know which comment you're referring to and in what context, but I'll tell you, I talk to the president sometimes multiple times each day. He and I and his team and our teams work around the clock. Literally, the president and I will talk sometimes at midnight and then again at 6 a.m. I mean, this president doesn't sleep. He's working all the time. The agenda is aggressive. There is much more to do. I think what he's sometimes when I think he's taken out of context on comments like that, he's referring to what we accomplished with the Working Families Tax Cut, the big beautiful bill, because there's so much in that a lot of people said, wow, you guys checked all the boxes. Well, we did to a certain extent, but there is so much more to do. And we're going to have a very aggressive legislative agenda coming right out of the gates in January. We're going to continue to work, for example, on health care, to continue to bring costs down for the American people, to bring down the cost of living overall. You're going to see an aggressive affordability agenda, and we're going to see continued codification of the president's executive orders. He's up to about 200 of those. Probably about 150 of them are codifiable by Congress, and we're working steadily through that list. You're going to see us delivering for the American people while the effects of that giant piece of legislation that we did on July 4th, got signed on July 4th, comes into implementation. So much more yet to do. And the president and I talk about that almost every day, and he's excited about it, and I am. Yes, sir. Front row.
So
Yes.
there's a lot of Republicans who would still like to see health savings accounts set up as an alternative to the premium tax credit. I'm curious, why is that not in this bill? Is that something that's still on the table?
Very much on the table. The president likes the policy as well. I see my doctor colleagues here. Yeah, Dr. Miller Meeks is nodding in agreement. The Docs Caucus the Doctors Caucus in the Republican conference works on these things, and I think we could get broad consensus on that. What we anticipate going into the first quarter of next year is possibly in a reconciliation package or in regular order as standalone, ideas just like this. We have a long list of things that we know will reduce premiums, increase access and quality of care. And again, we're the only party that's going to be bringing that forward. The Democrats have zero ideas, zero concepts, and zero legislative plans on anything they'll propose other than just subsidizing the broken system. So there's going to be a stark contrast between the two parties. That'll be a big part of it, and I think you'll see a lot of that discussion going forward. Yes, ma'am. Last one here.
To follow up on that, we are at the end of the year here. People have already enrolled in their health care plans. You guys were out for 2 months during the shutdown. Why has it taken until the end of the year to start addressing, putting to the floor these health care bills? And what is your message to those who are going to see their premiums rise next year anyway, because it seems unlikely that Congress is going to be able to get something together by then?
The health care bill on the floor tomorrow is right on time. There's always a good time to reduce premiums for health care. And remember, the Republican Party, since the Unaffordable Care Act became law 15 years ago, we have been working steadily, producing ideas, trying to address this. We tried to repeal and replace it, as you all know, in our ultimately failed attempt back in the first Trump administration, at the end of 2017. The famous John McCain thumbs down tanked the effort. And since then, the roots of Obamacare, the Unaffordable Care Act, have gotten so deep in the system that it's no longer possible to just pull it out at the root and chop it off and start over. It's too deeply ingrained. And so now we have to take it step by step to reduce cost and repair the system. And that's the ideas that we have. You're talking about the longest shutdown in U.S. history. The Democrats did that. Remember, when we reopened the government, we ended in the exact same place that we began. They didn't get a darn thing out of it, and we knew that they wouldn't, and that's how it'd come out, and they did it for political purposes. When they took us off the field effectively for 43 days, as soon as we got back, let's remember, because history's being revised here every day, we got right back to the appropriations process, remember, which was so critically important, and all the other measures that we were pushing through. We got done on that steadily through the year, and then we turned the attention to health care, knowing it was coming at the end of the year on the subsidy and that new ideas would be presented. We didn't start this in October, November, or December. This is something the Republican Party has been working on for years. I've mentioned in here before, when I was chair of the Republican Study Committee, the largest caucus of Republicans in Congress, we had 158 members back in 2019, and we produced a 2-volume set on conservative common sense solutions to fix health care. We've never been able to get the votes to fix it because the Democrats have been unwilling to go along. And you can go back and look at the record and show over and over, all they want to do is continue to throw taxpayer dollars and subsidize the broken system. The reason the premiums are up 80% since the bill was passed by the Democrats in 15 years ago is because they're further ingraining a broken system. So it's up to us to fix it. This is one piece, one part of that. And in the first quarter, January, February next year, you're going to see much more activity of this. The American people's attention is on health care for the obvious reason. It is a very serious problem. But remember this, the Democrats broke it, Republicans are going to fix it. I wish you all a blessed holiday. Thanks so much.
All right, and we will be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Back here now at 10:52 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It appears that Senator briefing on the situation between Venezuela and U.S. with those boat strikes is letting out. There's a stakeout now. Let's go ahead and listen in to some of our country's leaders.
Watch out.
Okay, good morning. Look, I reiterated my demand of Secretary Hegseth in front of all 100 senators that he allow every senator to see the unedited version, the unedited video of what happened on September 2nd. He refused. The administration came to this briefing empty-handed. That's the major question that we face. And if they can't be transparent on this, how can you trust their transparency on all the other issues swirling about in the Caribbean? Every senator is entitled to see it. If there is no problem with sources and methods, because the senators will see it in the skiff. I also believe that every American should see an appropriate version of this, of the unedited, they should see an appropriate version of what happened on September the 2nd. I saw it. It was deeply troubling. In my Gang of 8 meeting last week, I asked Secretary Hegseth, let every senator see it. He said he'd think about it. Today, he came up with no answer and no take.
So
His reasoning was that it might give things away that shouldn't be. I respect classification. When you do it in the skiff, that argument is undercut. It's just with senators in the skiff.
Can you help us understand if they gave any rationale of what the end goal of these strikes actually is? I imagine.
Look, that's the set, and I sat through this briefing once before last week. We do not, their policies in the Caribbean are unclear. We don't know what the limits are. We don't know where they'll stop. We don't know what the ultimate goal is. The president says different things at different times and contradicts himself. That's why we need full transparency, at least to the 100 senators, and much more transparency to the American people. We don't want another endless war. We don't want to stumble into something, and given Trump's erratic back and forth on this issue, I worry about that. So do many Americans.
Holding another briefing, sir. Did Ukraine come up at all, Senator?
All right, we were just waiting to see if any other lawmaker was going to step up to the mic. It seems like it's a stakeout during this Congress military hearing on those U.S.-Venezuela strikes. Get you back out to the aviation hearing. That is taking place right now. U.S. House meeting here on the safety and the state of American aviation. Let's listen in on Live Impact News.
To ensure that towers are properly staffed. I have a very specific question for you. I'm not asking you to opine directly on whether those actions were right or wrong by the secretary or the president, but do you have concerns about how Secretary Duffy or President Trump's comments might impact air traffic controller recruitment efforts specifically?
Well, thank you for the question. And without opining one way or the other, I can tell you that the FAA will work better if government continues to be funded. So if I could encourage you did ask my opinion, so I'll share it. If you ask me, the default position for if you don't like the current budget should be the current budget just continues. Right, and we can.
And I agree with that, but specifically, I'm asking whether you think the threats from Secretary Duffy or the president will impact the FAA's ability to recruit and have impact on the morale of air traffic controllers.
So, as I said in my opening remarks, the FAA was shorthanded prior to the lapse in funding. No one can argue that the lapse in funding was anything other than painful for those federal workers who were called to work without pay during what turned out to be the longest 6-week shutdown in history. I don't think anybody's happy about that, and nobody wants to see it happen again. But we do have an obligation to come to work. That is part of the obligation we take as federal workers. I work without pay for 6 months. Nobody enjoys that. Sorry, six weeks.
Yeah. Felt like 6 months.
And it's illegal for our controllers to have a job action. We saw 2 facilities at the very end of the lapse where we had ATZ 0 because none of the controllers showed up for work. So we do have to ask some tough questions about, was that a job action? If it was, it's just not, that's not tolerable. So I think there is an accountability, but overall, yes, culturally, it's difficult to get the kind of engagement that we want when we can't pay people to come to work.
Absolutely, but specifically about the threats to fire people if they are sick. I mean, people get sick during a government shutdown, threatening to fire them and making people afraid, forcing them to potentially come to work when they're under the weather. Do you think that has an impact on morale?
I think that's a mischaracterization of what the Secretary was referring to. When we see facilities that go ATZ 0 staffing,
I think he specifically threatened to fire people if they did.
All right. Well, she asked and he answered. And with that, we will come up on 11 o'clock. Charlotte Today is up next. Have a great morning.